Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
In a game that Connor Zari and Igor Sharangovich score in the same game, I joked on social media, is this legal? The Calgary Flames explode once again for 6 goals, taking down both sides of the back-to-back, but taking this game 5-2. My name's Conrad Krausert, and as you can see, we have a guest joining us today. Today I'm joined by Nolan Hill. Nolan, I'll let you introduce yourself and the important work you do in the Calgary community.
Absolutely. My name's Nolan Hill. I use he, him pronouns. I am a member of the board of directors of the Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association, or CIHA, which is the home of Calgary Flair. We are a 2S LGBTQ plus and ally hockey organization here in Calgary. We have 3 teams that play in different leagues across the city, welcoming members of the 2S LGBTQ community to play a sport that we all really love and grow the game and hopefully shift some of the culture that exists around hockey in Calgary and in the broader community as well.
Yeah, as we all know, the hockey world has been under fire for a little bit here, and CIHA, who you had your acronym stolen because you and Calgary International Hockey Academy, and I do commentary for both, so it gets a little mixed up in my mind, but Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association is doing some incredible work, not just with the 3 teams they operate, they're also doing some community skates to encourage those of us in the LGBTQIA2 spirit community to come forth and just, if you don't want to play competitively, come out to the community skate, come out and enjoy the queer community coming around the great sport we all love. But let's talk about the game that we saw between the Flames and Canucks, because I said you're a Canucks fan initially, but you told me that was not kind of wrong. I got wires crossed. But it's interesting to see these 2 teams coming to play this game, because they're kind of 2 teams that are in a lot of similar situations, both on the ice and off.
Yeah, I know the stats. I was looking or talking to someone the other day just about how, Calgary, they didn't necessarily follow hockey. I was like, well, Calgary's last in the league out of the 32 teams, last place. And then going into this game, I think they were saying, yeah, it was a 3-point difference between Flames and Canucks, and recognizing that it might not be as bad as we maybe think in Calgary. And there's definitely some other teams that are in, some similar situations with what's going on and on the ice and off the ice, and dealing with all the things that come along with being a professional hockey team.
Yeah, like the Aquilini family and Murray Edwards seem to be very aligned in their goal of wanting to host 2 playoff games and be content with the money that they steal out of that. But the Flames obviously played incredibly well today. We'll go into the recap shortly, but have the Flames started to turn a corner? In my opinion, they have, but it's so hard to say that because you still come into almost all of these games not knowing what Flames team's going to show up.
Yeah, I'd like to think that there's a corner that's turned. I'd like to think that we're going to see more consistency, um, more of the sort of even play across the lines. I think that's been in past seasons what I've noticed is, we can count on our fourth line in some really great ways, and sometimes I feel like this season's been a little bit of a mixed bag in that way, but I like to hope so. But again, you never know who's going to show up. You never know what's going to happen with, who they're playing. And I think this season is proving that there are some surprises emerging kind of across the league. So we'll see what happens with the rest of the season in Calgary.
So let's head into our review here, because I kind of thought after the first shot on net for the Canucks, we were in to see a little bit of this game going the other direction. Filip Hronek, the wrist shot, finds a hole in Dustin Wolf, and I think Dustin Wolf honestly would like that one back. But just good individual play there by Filip Hronek, recognizing he had time to jump up in the play and absolutely roofed it over Dustin Wolf.
Yeah, great stop on that break. He had a 2-on-1. I think he had Kane with him, and just took that moment, took the stop, got ball to drop, and was able to roof that shot, which is a beautiful goal. But I agree. I was a little worried that we were going to see a bit of a blowout given the first shot of the game goes past Wolf, but
Yeah, and we had that a few seasons ago, but it wasn't Dustin Wolf who was the goaltender. Then that was the Jacob Markstrom special, letting in the first shot he saw. And Kevin Ball is a giant. When I see him kind of sliding along the ice, I assume he's just somehow going to reach that absolute redwood of a tree or a hockey stick out, and he's going to get there. But Hronik, nice toe drag to get around it, and Canucks go up 1-0. But I think from then on, the Flames really did recognize, oh, yeah, this is hockey. We played this 24 hours ago. We got to buckle down. And I think from that point on, it really was kind of tilted ice for the rest of the game. And go ahead.
oh yeah, yeah. I think the Flames really showed up after they kind of saw that breakdown. I think realized they needed to, get their head in the game, figure out what they needed to do, and it really showed up as a pretty complete effort, I'd like to say.
Yeah, and the guys that kind of answered that bell is the line that's been doing it for the past 7 games. It starts with Matt Coronado getting back to a puck so it doesn't clear the zone. Has a beautiful pass onto Rasmus Andersson. So those are the 2 guys who've kind of been leading this team over the last week. And then they finally find Morgan Frost. He taps in his 5th of the year off the slap pass from Rasmus Andersson. And you drew out a defender all the way, because you have to trust that in the last few games that Rasmus Andersson's going to shoot that puck on his own. But he certainly drew out coverage from the I lost my roster sheet. There it is. Drew out. It was Quinn Hughes that he drew out to kind of cut down that angle. But slap pass changed everything up, and good job. Going to quote an old person we don't like talking about in hockey media for a lot of reasons, but this keep your stick on the ice Don Cherry videos that were nailed into my head as a child played well there for Morgan Frost.
Yeah, and I think the credit there, I really like Coronado's play. I think, especially coming back after that brutal hit from Renton last night.
Playing in the bubble like he's back in Harvard.
Exactly. That was a beautiful, like, just the patience to see there. I think so often defenders can get really easily trapped in I just got to throw it away. I can feel that pressure. He was really able to take that moment, almost take a breath. Like, you could kind of see it happening. And he really made the effort to save that puck in the zone, and beautiful pass over to Anderson, and the slap pass to Frost was great.
And like, everybody talks about Matt Coronado's wrist shot for valid reasons. It's one of the best in the game. That was a beautiful touch pass over to Rasmus Andersson, who kind of looped all the way out of the defensive zone before coming back in and starting that play. So good job all around. And then finally, a guy who has been, I'd argue, one of the most unlucky guys in the NHL, finally gets his 2nd goal of the season after scoring in the first game in Edmonton. Connor Zary bats home a rebound. They're calling it a snapshot. I think it's a wrister. But whatever. Good work for Connor Zary. A hard-working shift, assists to the Backlund bump of both Coleman and Michael Backlund. And you could see what that meant to Connor Zary after he put that one home.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So good to see him get that 2nd of the season, and really see, that line's played, I think, really well this game. And I think Zary had a good game. And, that goal, certainly maybe a little bit of luck with the bounce, kind of a, bounce off the rebound, got his stick on it. But yeah, just good to see him for that kid. He's had, pretty good couple of seasons since he entered the league. And I really like his play. So I think seeing him kind of continue to have that success is good in my books.
Yeah, and it's kind of continued this momentum that Coleman and Backlund pairing kind of started when it was Sam Honzek over on the left there. Unfortunately, not going to see him for 6 months. But after he ran into Michael Backlund, God, captain's got to feel awful about that. I didn't really think about that in the game last night. But good for Zary, and you need him to start to score goals. You signed his contract in the offseason thinking that this is going to be a 25 to 30 goal guy. But we're 24 games in now, I think. And Connor Zary only has 2 goals on the year. And he's had a probably more bags of popcorn than goals this year with how he's been sitting in the press box.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think that's been a bit of a narrative that I've noticed with some of the Flames is that we make some contract decisions that end up maybe not panning out the way we like. And again, I like the kid. I think he's got good skill. I think he's got good hockey sense, and um, maybe it's just this corner that's turning that he's gonna hopefully show what he can really do, because I think we've seen it in past seasons as well, and he's got some bad luck with some injuries too. But yeah, I'm hopeful for him, because I think again he's a good player, and I think he fits the team dynamic really well.
And as much as I loathe giving Eric Francis credit, he did kind of say that this team just needed to build confidence, and I think Connor Zary is one of the prime examples of that, and starting to get off the schneid hopefully with this goal. But a guy who I don't think is lacking in confidence, because I think he's been one of the best Flames defenders for most of the year, gets the goal to open, well, midway through the second. Kevin Ball, he didn't know he got it. I think they're all kind of confused how this one got through Lankinen, but again, just Flames continuing to cycle the puck using the new look Sharangovich, Kadri, and Farabee line just kept the puck in, and Kevin Ball, not known for getting involved in the play offensively, but he comes down that near wall and is a pretty good wrister. Kind of gets lucky, bounces off a defender's legs, but I think he made the right call to go down, because I think even if it isn't knocked in off of Willander's skate, I think Joel Farabee has a tap in there.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I thought it was a Farabee tap in when I first saw it, and get the good bounce off the skate there. Yeah, he made the right play. I think he had the good kind of break in just along the side, and nice to see again. Again, I liked the signing when we got Kevin Baller, and just really good to see again that sort of even play across the team tonight. Didn't feel like there was just one line that really dominated or one kind of pair, but I think made the right decision, and hey, put pucks to the neck, and good things can happen, right? So
yeah, and as we said, just touched on, the confidence is key. Like, I think a couple of games, like, let's go back to the first game in Chicago of the prior to this winning streak. I kind of think Kevin Ball might have tried to pass that one back all the way to Rasmus Anderson, but feeling the confidence enough to put pucks on net, and I don't know, maybe that's not the method you would choose if it was Thatcher Demko in. Obviously, he's going to be missing a fair amount of time. But it worked, and it puts the Flames up 2 goals again, which I kind of, or up 2 for the first time. And I kind of felt that's where the chokehold kind of started to come in.
yeah, it was that goal that I think really made it very clear. I think the Canucks had not given up, but I think they started to recognize, like, we're getting outplayed. We gotta figure something out, and they had a decent enough push, but the Flames really took hold of the game and really focused on how they could really get the win, which I think was really great.
Yeah, and then we go to, as I said, it's apparently legal for Igor Sharangovich and Connor Zary to score in the year 2025. And once again, just great work from that whole line, maintaining zone time, keeping the pressure up, especially when it wasn't Hughes on the ice. It's a pairing that the Canucks are missing a couple of, or at least one big guy that you'd think would be out there in that sort of situation. In former Calgary Flame for a very short period, Derek Fortport, out on long-term IR since the end of October. So I think the Flames did recognize that, hey, once you get through to Pettersson, obviously 29, not one of the Eliases, Marcus Pettersson, once you can get into those second pairing guys, this Vancouver Canucks team doesn't have a lot there. So keeping that zone time up, taking advantage, and I actually think that was PD, the defense PD, not number 40, that was actually out there for this one. Because let's have to be pretty straight up about it. Like, Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, isn't he's a third pairing defenseman in the NHL.
Yeah.
I think that's about the best we can say.
Oh, for sure. And I think the Sharon Govich goal, I think, is just, again, good zone time, good awareness on the puck. And yeah, good to see Sharon Govich getting something. I know it's been a rough rough
More
to say
than
the
rough.
least, but yeah, I think it's, recognizing, and I don't even know what Hughes' ice time was, but I feel like every time I looked, it was Hughes on ice. And, relying on that is so difficult. And I think we see that in other teams where, or, any team that you're relying on one pairing of D that's trying to carry your whole defensive play, and it's just not sustainable. You got to be able to, trust it at all the levels, but
this isn't the NHL when we grew up where teams had one line. This is a different sport, and you need to have at least two pairings that I think can last you at least 20 minutes a game, and I don't think the Canucks are that team.
I agree.
And yeah, I love to see the garbage goals coming from Sharon Govich, because any goal for that guy, just start putting the puck in the net, and we've seen it in his whole time as a Flame. He's a very streaky scorer. So if you can start that streak now and get it going for a little bit before the Olympic break, I think it's probably better for the Flames if you're not necessarily fully on Team Tank at this point.
Yeah.
Well, if you're Don Maloney. Anyways, let's head into the third period where the Flames do get into a little bit of penalty trouble. Jonathan Huberdeau takes the hooking call, but somehow the Flames manage to break Blake Coleman out of the zone. Well, starts off with a great interception by Michael Backlund, and then has his eyes up the whole time, and the Texas Tiger got the wheels churning and kind of just one-handed poke check the puck in past Lankinen, and that's his 300th goal of his NHL career. So good for Blake Coleman.
Yeah, and I think the patience, because Backlund gets that interception. He could easily just try dart up the middle, but he saw he could cut to the outside, bought a little bit of time for Coleman to catch up, and I think just throw the puck towards him, see what he can do. He gets that nice little poke check in and finds the 5-hole on Lankinen, and you got to feel for Lankinen. That's a tough one to let in, but I think they had a good breakout with that interception, and you got to take advantage when you get those opportunities.
And something I don't think enough people would realize, like watching the game at live speed, and I'm only noticing it now because I'm looking at the NHL game visualizer. Backlund also occupies the only defender, because obviously NHL teams now, it's only one defenseman, 4 forwards for the power play. And Backlund draws Hughes all the way to the right-hand side, so he can't get that stick across. And Blake Coleman beats Elias Pettersson, the forward, in the foot race and pokes it home. Like, great play from the captain. And I don't know if he could have actually darted away. It's the third period of a back-to-back with travel. And Backlund, I get it, he's in great shape. Still no spring chicken. I wonder if those lungs were starting to feel it there.
That is totally fair, yeah.
But then kind of the guy that needs to be the straw that stirs the drink says, okay, we're -1 on this power play. I'm going to do the Thanos thing. Fine, I'll do it myself. Leads his own rush, takes his first shot. It's off the shoulder of Wolf, tucks home the rebound, and you have to give credit. Kevin Lankinen gets the only assist on that goal. And it's kind of an indictment on the status of things in Vancouver.
Yeah, Hughes doing it all for himself. Feels like the storyline in a lot of ways. So, yeah, we and gotta give him credit. He led that rush. He just said, you know what, I've got the speed. He's got the edges. He can just move around. Get the good rebound and put it home. And I think, and I mean, you could see they knew they were pretty far out of it, even with that goal. There was no sort of spark of like, oh, we're back in this game. They were like, no, we're like, at least that's what I could kind of see on the faces. It kind of looked like they were already a bit dejected and seeing, um, well, we'll get this, and then we'll try for maybe another one, but not really seeing the hope in the eyes of the team there, unfortunately.
I think the most hope I saw in the third period was Dustin Wolf looking at those passes across the middle in front of him, hoping one would just sit on the ice and then he can go for the empty net in the last 5 minutes. I could tell that all the broadcasters, I had the radio broadcast on as well. I think even Derek Wills, shout out to Derek Wills, obviously working with a pretty heavy heart this weekend following the loss of his father. I think he would have been excited to see Dustin Wolf go for it, but I think everyone was trying to, because Dustin Wolf is, I wouldn't call him Mike Smith when he plays the puck, but seems pretty confident for it. And we saw him already go for the empty net once so far this season. So I think it's kind of in the back of his mind. Hey, I got to backstop these guys on most nights to win games. Maybe I can score and actually win a game myself.
Yeah, he was. I felt like he was hungry, and I know they were talking about it on the TV broadcast as well. Just oh, let's see if they'll get that opportunity to give Wolf the shot, but didn't get the empty netter and had a couple chances there, but.
And I think he'll be happiest with 2 points and continuing this Flames win streak as we roll along. Speaking of roll along, we're gonna head further into this game over post-game show now that the recap's done. But before we go any further, I want everyone that's in chat to go hit that like button. In such an algorithmically driven world, it does really help us to have those likes in down below us. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. Myself, Anand Unnithan, who's in chat, trying to bring you post games for every Calgary Flames game this season. We do have one that we're not sure we're going to be able to get covered. I've also reached out to a former host of the show to see if he'll cover that game. But we're trying to get you as much post-game show for your Calgary Flames as we can. And the other way you can help us out with that is if you share the link. I don't know if you're on X, Blue Sky. I even posted this one out on Instagram. But we will try to let you know how you can access. And subscribing just makes that easy. We'll just pop up in your subscriber feed on YouTube. But let's go into period number 2. Hopefully I did this right and all the logos, all the Calgary Flare logos still show up. That great new branding you guys have. But our second period is kind of going to talk about how this will be, if I'm reading the response from Derek Wills correct when I asked this on X, how long the Flames had been since they lost, scoring 4 or more. They didn't do it last year, or lose when they scored 4 or more. I think Derek Wills is stating that there were 40 straight before today, so I believe this is the 41st. So that's the longest streak in the NHL. But boy, howdy, it feels like we don't have enough of those 4-goal-plus games.
Right. Yeah. It's. I think it was that the 40-game streak and looking at 41 potentially tonight. When it's good, it's good. But when they're struggling to score 1, 2, to just stay in games, and then they're letting the other teams get the 4, the 5. On the flip side of that, it's just impossible for them to come back. I hope that we don't have to rely on 4 or 5 goal scoring games, because those are in this day and age NHL, certainly they happen, but
they're more common than they have been in most other eras of this game. But
yeah, I think it's just seeing the game sort of shift in that way, and again, hope that the Flames. I don't think they can rely on that. I don't know that they have the level of actual high caliber goal scoring to have a ton of 4, 5, 6 goal games in their regular season.
Yeah, I just don't think it's in the repertoire, the vocabulary, whatever you want to call it. It's nice that you have that record. And hey, maybe if that is the true Calgary Flames, they need to fully buy in and just trade off everyone that plays defense and just try and go win games 9-4. But as you said, just not have with that the roster that they've got. But it is definitely interesting that this Flames team, because that's predating Dustin Wolf. So we'll go back to when it was the tandem of Jacob Markstrom and any excuse I have to bring this out, I will. Dan Vladar, Pride jersey. But yeah, ever since that era, it's been that this Flames, if they can get there, it is going to end up in the win column. But the Flames were had the least amount of games where they scored 4 goals last year, with only 18 of them. So, as you said, it just isn't something we can rely on. Obviously, you hope as a fan that you see the evolution of guys like Matt Coronado, like Connor Zary, guys like Farabee and Frost who have started to turn it on this year. But like, knowing this as a Flames fan and hearing what we've heard over the last 2 days, you just feel that those 4-goal games aren't going to happen because this team is so dead set on that. Let's go play in the first round of the playoffs and hope we can pull off an 0-4 run and just somehow magic this team out of 8th place to the Stanley Cup Finals, which is, I get it, it's not an impossible story. It's a story we've heard with the 0-4 Flames getting to that point, and then we saw the Blues do it as well when they were in a better spot than the Flames are right now, but not by much in terms of record, when they pushed their way all the way to the Stanley Cup to the Stanley Cup. But that's not common.
No. And I think it's the hope for magic, when really what you need is you need the skill. You need the goal scoring. You need that level. And certainly we can hope for that magic and have some of that, but it's you got to do a lot of the work yourself in many ways. And again, I think those 4-goal games, those high scoring affairs, we just don't see the Flames having that consistency, I don't think.
Yeah, like when we look at this, Nathan McKinnon, 1st overall, Macklin Celebrini, 1st overall, Connor McDavid, 1st overall, Connor Bedard, and then Leo Carlsson. Like, that's the outlier in this scenario right now. But those first 4 guys, like, those are all 1st overall, and I forgot that Leo Carlsson was 2nd, so even if you fall to 2nd, like, because the ping pong balls don't fall your way, you're still getting someone that can alter the fact of your season. And I talked about this last night, so I don't want to beat this drum again. You're putting Flames fans who want to go to games to the point where this new stadium tickets are going to be at least 150% more expensive, because you're cutting down on all those extra press level seats that the Dome has. So people are going to have to pay more to see a product that doesn't have a superstar for the next decade. Because, like, look what happened with Johnny and Matt, and those were lottery ball or chips that fell where they were, taking risk on, especially Johnny Gaudreau, where someone in his stature hadn't been successful in the league since arguably the days of Martin St. Louis with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And obviously, Matt Tkachuk being the highest the Flames have ever selected in 7th place. But that's all. We're almost at the point where that was a decade ago now. Like, we're having to live in a new reality of the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point with this city and this kind of fan base of knowing that they want this team to do well. I think the city wants it. The city wants to have a new rink and a good team and the sort of franchise players. And I don't always see that in the team that we have.
Because when I go out to the malls, like, I don't see kids walking around. I know Nazem Kadri sells a ton of jerseys, but I don't see that in public. But I see guys walking around in Bedard jerseys, in Celebrini jerseys now. If they're a little bit older, you'll probably see William Nylander or Austin Matthews jerseys. Because these are people that the kids, they look at the skill and they want to wear that jersey. The Flames don't have someone like that, and they haven't since Johnny and Chucky left.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that we have good players, like solidly good players. We just lack that sort of breakout, really consistent, solid star that people look to in the city. I think that's
I would argue outside of Dustin Wolf.
It's true. Yes. Yeah, and I think it's tough because you put a lot on that on the goaltender, right? And that particular position and sort of how that plays out in the city. But yeah, we'll see kind of how it all plays out with the rest of the year. Again, nice to maybe see a corner turn, but at the same time, it's what are we actually going for with this season? Are we looking to just squeak into the playoffs or just miss those playoffs, or go for
and I think
second overall?
I think we have kind of a perfect case study in the team we just faced tonight in how things can go so badly if you don't have both the culture and the skill. Like, you trade away one of your best players because you had to, effectively, because they hated each other's guts, in JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, and I guess you do take the gamble on the higher goal production. But I guess that's another reason why this ownership group might be a little gun shy, because you've seen so much go wrong in Vancouver, and obviously we had the decade of darkness up in Edmonton. So I guess maybe that's why you can foresee potentially this ownership group being gun shy, but like everywhere else has embraced this, and I think you have to assume if Murray Edwards eventually does take his hands off the wheel and trusts Craig Conroy above everyone else in the front office, to just sort of say, you know what, let's get this thing back on track. I have the belief that the Flames can look like the Ducks, can look like the Sharks or the Blackhawks in the next 3 years. Because we do have some guys on the farm that are getting close to being NHL ready. Whether that's Zane Parekh when he puts on another workload of a year and understands how to not get drilled on the blue line seemingly once every second game. I think that's a huge piece. I think Matvey Gridden's a huge piece. Hunter Brustevich hasn't really been mentioned as far as getting called up to the big club, but I think that once you move Rasmus Andersson in, he becomes an everyday player on this team. I think there are the foundations, but that's like, okay, we're going into the Christmas season, so I'll use a Christmas analogy. You got the tree. You have the foundation of players that are playing in the NHL now. Step one complete. You got a couple nice little baubles for going on in Gridden, Brustevich, Parekh, Wolf. But you don't have that tree topper. You don't have, whether it's the star or an angel, you don't have that guy. You got all the garland and lights and everything else. And hey, maybe you have to go and trade some of your nice older baubles in to get that star. But I think that's where the Flames are stuck.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and I think it's that missing piece that I think is the organization seems a bit shy and afraid to really commit to. And I've had conversations with people about it. So, well, we just can't do that in Calgary. And I'm like, but we could, and I think there's a lot of reasons that we could. And it's tough to see that people just think it's, in a Canadian market you can never have that level of tank or of whatever you want to call it. But
multiple teams have. Like Montreal, you can argue had it. Ottawa had it, and then they've had the worst injury luck on the planet this year. Everyone knows what Toronto's is because the two sports networks wouldn't let us forget it. the Oilers had the decade, and I think now it's time for the Flames and Canucks to start finally realizing what the position they're in. And it's the two owners that seem to be struggling with that the most, that seem to be stuck in this. Like, to not draw another comparison to another team, but like, how resistant were the Sabres to say they were still in a rebuild once they lost out on wasn't Marner on Austin Matthews? It's, and I think either Murray Edwards is a genius or he is clueless. Like, there's no in between. Because either Murray is saying, oh, I love this core because they are tanking to get us to the point where we're going to be able to draft that generational superstar without having to make adjustments, or he's an idiot because he doesn't realize that that's what's happening. Who knows where he sits on his lair in Switzerland on that whole scenario. And Toke, you know what? Even my opinion's starting to look at this. Toke in chat says Gavin Treetopper McKenna. I've actually started looking at the draft rankings and starting to look at the players who are at the top of these leaderboards. I actually don't necessarily think that it is Gavin McKenna that's the best player for these Flames. But that's a discussion for when we are getting out of October and getting closer to the draft. I really like Keaton Verhoff. Right-handed defensemen are good. Oh man, that's always a struggle, even in beer league, to try and find. Okay, you shoot right-handed. Can you skate backwards good enough to play defense?
Oh yeah.
And speaking of, we'll move on. I'm gonna jam this transition. But let's talk in this intermission a little bit about the Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association and the Calgary Flair, all three teams that you guys got going, and some of the community events as well.
Yeah, so as an organization, we've been around for about 10 years, I think, and really the focus has grown to really be about that shift in that sort of culture and providing space for folks who are part of the 2S LGBTQ plus community to find community, to build community, to grow community through the sport of hockey. We know that we attract a very diverse group of folks who come to the sport with very different perspectives. We have folks like myself. I played growing up. I played for about 8 years, and then kind of left the sport because it just wasn't really a space that felt super welcoming. And I think we hear a lot of those stories. We also have folks who are like, I've always wanted to play hockey, and they get to come back to that, or come to that sport really as a first opportunity. And so we have adult learners, we have former ringette players, we have former hockey players, we've got beginners all the way up to people who played quite high level hockey, and it's just really great to see that kind of community building. And we have 3 teams. Our website is calgaryflair.ca if you're interested in signing up on a bit of a wait list, staying in touch with the work that we do, continuing to grow our teams as we grow as an organization. I know when I started we had 2 teams. Now we're up to 3. Who knows what the future holds for us. And as you mentioned, we also have events usually pretty much once a month. We have try to have a community skate, which is just casual. You need at least just skates and a helmet. If you have gloves and a stick, that's great. So if you want to get out on the ice, you can join us. Our next one is coming up. I believe it is Sunday, December 14th, if I'm not mistaken. That is all posted on our website as well as on our social, which is just at Calgary Flair. FLARE is our team name, just to make sure.
Yeah, because and that could be a mistake that some people make. Obviously, I've got it on our overlay. It's that beautiful new logo, and I just have been told to briefly mention this whenever we're doing our streams. We do have to just give a brief shout out to Freddie, who assisted with the rebrand efforts, and they got some beautiful jerseys, and they did some pretty awesome things with that brand. And as well, we are looking at probably doing a broadcast for Team Soul, which is the highest division that plays out of WinSport We are looking at doing a stream from Winsport there on the 16th. Knock on wood, as I'm actually at a wedding before that, so hopefully I come back with a voice. Um, yeah, it's really incredible, and whether that's you just want to come out and be an ally, come to the community skates, come play some stick and puck. You'll skate better than I did in the one I came out for in October. Because yeah, all you need for the community skates is a skates, a stick, gloves, and a helmet. So that's certainly things you can pick up if you don't have them already. Yeah, we are looking as well to potentially get some more streaming of Terra and Luna, which is in various rinks throughout the city. So it's a really great organization. I'm glad that I could get that video up for the last 5 minutes of the Soul vs Terra game, or Terra vs Luna game. I apologize, but yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's an amazing thing this sport needs more of. Is looking at how we can be inclusive rather than some of the bad press and exclusivity that this sport has garnered in the last couple of years. And hey, we're still one of the teams in this league that still feels that we can do a pride jersey, even if if the league doesn't let us wear it on the ice. So, yes, we could be in a worse place in terms of acceptance for this team. But yeah, we'll head into period number 3 here, if I can remember to hit the right button. And we were going to kind of talk about the parallels that continue to exist between the Flames and the Canucks. Number one, we have a Calgary Canucks team here in Calgary that started about the same time as the Vancouver Canucks. There's obviously that parallel. But outside of that, like, it really does seem that these teams are being run in very similar ways by Francisco Aquilini and the Aquilini family and Murray Edwards. Obviously, Flames don't have to release how much of the Flames Murray actually owns. He's a majority shareholder. And I think he owns more than 51%, so I guess he kind of gets to make those decisions unimpeded by Calgary Sports and Entertainment. And the Aquilini family owns 100% of the Canucks. So there is that little bit of a difference. But it seems that both these teams are so afraid of admitting that they need to be bad before they get to be good again.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is necessarily the answer, but I wonder if it's that conversation with a fan base, and the passion that people bring to these organizations, even when they're not particularly good, and when they are struggling and they're not having great seasons, we still see lots of folks showing up, and then it's the interfacing with, well, we can't, or feeling like maybe we kind of throw our hands up and say we can't do anything because we don't want to make the fans mad or make the city mad, not necessarily the municipal government, but the city kind of at large.
I don't think Jeremy Farkas cares much about the Flames, to be entirely honest.
yeah, but I think it's that sort of like fear to actually just say, oh, we're not doing well, and we need to make some changes, and they kind of say it without saying it, because they'll make trades, or they'll let folks go into free agency and just sign wherever and whatever that may be, rather than saying we're almost taking ownership of it.
Yeah, and just to look at kind of a view of the other side, looking at this Canucks squad, they're kind of now at a point where the Flames eventually found themselves in that era of Tkachuk, Goudreau, Monahan, where Elias Pettersson, I think, is 2 feet out the door already. Whether that ends up him going to Detroit when his contract expires, who can tell you? I think that's probably a safe assumption to make. But it seems that they're also similar. Like, they don't want to be known as the ownership group or the management group that traded one of the best defensemen in the league to just maintain assets. Like, I feel like they're at the point where they're kind of forced to go to free agency with Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I think that sort of reputational damage, but the reputation that they might get in that sort of ownership and management group of, well, it was like the biggest mistake, or it was whatever it was. Uh, People are really averse to that. Even if, 5-6 years down the road it turns into a cup or something, you never know.
Yeah.
But
And it's so hard too, because like as we said, you're without your starting goaltender, who you kind of decided to move guys out of town because you finally felt he was going to be fully healthy in Thatcher Demko, but he's back to week with the same darn knee injury that he's had for the past 4 years. Like, it's putting the eggs in the basket and then the basket getting sucked into the Pacific Ocean, and then suddenly you're trying to regather. It, I'm almost at the point where I know it is a rivalry, but I think it's kind of almost only a rivalry in the fan base's minds, because both these teams are real bad. Like, and I don't think I'm hurting anyone's feelings in saying that.
Yeah, I think it's a very different, quote unquote, rivalry from obviously Flames Oilers. Very different sort of history and different, connection to that rivalry. It is, it's very much a fan base rivalry. I don't think that and particularly now, again, like the teams are both not in really great places. They're dealing with, like we said, many of the similar issues, um, and dealing with, in some ways, similarities in like their cities too.
Mm-hmm.
Of, I think, like Calgary and Vancouver are very different cities. I'm born and raised here. I can't say that we're the same city, but I think for hockey cities, there are some similarities of, how much of the city is actually really invested in the team, at least from a fan base perspective, and then also how it plays out in the rest of the sort of day to day of that team. But yeah, it's a rough time, I think, to be either a Flames fan or a Canucks fan. And
Well, because I was looking at this on, I can't remember who said it on socials, but like the last time the Canucks got this bad, it was really in a time where the BC Lions had one of their big upswings in the 80s. And I feel bad for Canucks ownership because they don't own the Whitecaps like some other markets do, where they own everything. I wonder how much of their market share is going to be lost to this surging Whitecaps team, who are just entering the conference finals and had one of the funnest games to watch last night. It's on my second monitor watching the penalty shootout for them. But like, it's such a bad time for this team to be bad, because if you're the number one thing in town and you're good, you retain those casual fans. But especially as diverse of a city as Vancouver is, I'm sure you're going to lose a lot of market to the Whitecaps.
Yeah, I think that's a great point in that, especially now we've seen so much of an expansion of professional sports in a lot of Canadian markets, and seeing what people actually want from their teams, and I don't know that this is going to be the be all end all in Vancouver, but I think about the Vancouver Golden Knights getting a PWHL franchise there,
and playing
some of
in
those people
the
who are
coolest hockey barn probably in North America.
absolutely. And I think it's recognizing that there's a diversity of fans who want to watch hockey, and if the Golden Knights have a great season, and the Golden Knights start to really take away, are they going to pull away some of those people who say, do I want to go watch the Canucks who are sort of mid, or do I want to go watch a team that's doing really well, or
And that's an easier stadium to get to. I'm not having to go fully downtown. Like, there's so many things playing in.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens in Vancouver, and knowing again that city is, I think back to the infamous riots and the Cup run, and sort of the memories that people have in that city about hockey, and whether they're ready to make that commitment at that sort of organizational level to say we want to bring the city along, or do we just want to focus kind of more insular in the team? But I think you got to bring the city along in many, and particularly in Canadian markets.
I certainly am in agreement with you on that. It'll be interesting. Is yeah, GoldenEye's. I watched a lot of that first game in Pacific Coliseum, and boy, did they make that rink look good on television. Like I understand it's, I think it's only 12,000 max capacity. No, so it is still for ice hockey. It's still 16,000. So like, that's still as big as the Saddle Dome, and probably around the same age. Yep, about the same age as the original bones of the Saddle Dome. But like, yeah, if that can kind of draw some of the eyes away from the Canucks, maybe they'll be forced to realize that, oh, we need to start doing phase 2 of the rebuild. Who knows? But that's the one good thing about the Calgary Flames, is they are kind of the only show in town during the winter, especially when the Stampeders are also rebuilding. And let's be honest, who wants to go to McMahon Stadium in November? Not a lot of even diehard CFL fans. Oh my God, they're having the Grey Cup there next year. With all those new rules. Ugh. But, yeah. So let's head on into our overtime period, because we're at... Nolan, I didn't notice how easy you are to talk to. We're almost at the hour-long mark here. I told you 45 minutes, and I've stolen more time from you. So we'll take a brief look through chat, and I'll go all the way back to Matt C at the start of the stream. What the hell is going on? I think a combination of the Flames playing some of their best hockey and opponents not realizing that the Calgary Flames are an NHL team sometimes. In addition, we've also got to see a couple of backup goaltenders. And the Calgary Flames have decided to stop letting backups look like the absolute Vezina winners every time they come to town. So I think that's where I think has come around. Would you be in agreement, Nolan?
Yeah, I think you gotta give credit where credit's due in some ways to the Flames. That, you know, when they can play well, they can play well. I think it's the consistency.
And in the last 3 games, you've seen goaltenders not allowing more than 2 goals. Like, got to give it up for Devin Cooley last night. Dustin Wolf didn't have to make as many 10-bell saves, but stood tall for the Flames when they needed. And I think that's going to be a story moving forward. And especially knowing that Devin Cooley is only on a 1-year deal. Do you make the same decision and stick with him like you did Dan Vladar, or is he someone that turns into assets at the trade deadline? Who knows? And shout out to Anand, our usual co-host. He did 36 games or he watched 36 hockey games between Thursday and Saturday. I think he was doing U18 AA, a tournament this weekend. So big shout out to Anand, the true hockey grinder out there in the world. Shout out to Denim Man, my housemate. Tokay number 1 saying JT Miller was probably right about Pettersson. That's a tough one, because I don't like giving credit to JT Miller just because he's not a great human being, in my opinion. Allegedly. Throw all the censor words out there. But it's... PD has not been producing to what he did before his injury.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's hard to know. We get, however much of the story that we get.
How many layers of broken telephone we're hearing everything through?
Yeah, but I don't think he's producing in the way that they really need him to, and that they would like him to. And
he was better when he was the only Pettersson in town. Like, maybe they just needed to not gather as many of them in one place. Maybe it's like distance makes the Pettersson play fonder. I don't know. That was kind of forced.
Yeah,
but...
something like that. But yeah, I think he's we can't just say, oh, it was just the Miller effect or whatever. You never know.
And like, let's take a chill pill here. He's still top 46 in point production, like still in the top 50. But when the guys you're tied with in points are Dylan Strome, who good, not great in Washington, Clayton Keller, decent on that Utah squad, but then it's Drake Batherson and Evan Bouchard. Evan Bouchard being the guy who Edmonton's dragging through the mud for the past 3 weeks. And Drake Batherson, who's been hurt for a majority of the season. Or not a majority, but part of the season.
Yeah.
You need more if you're a Vancouver fan.
Yeah.
Less dome corn, more dome phone from the Denim Man saying that that's what was happening with the players who were sitting in the press box. I don't think so. Igor Sharangovich, as we always comment on the Flames video win, one of us on their TikTok. Have you seen their like meme videos they post? We usually post.
I think I've seen some.
We usually post Igor Sharangovich and usually get a response from one of the Flames admins. Flames are five all-stars away from being a really good team from Tokay number 1. I'd say they're probably 3 all-stars away from being a generational team. And hey, let's be real. If you still have Gavin McKenna at the top of your draft board, the next 2 number 1 overall draft picks are guys that have connections to the Calgary area. Him and Landon DuPont, the still number 1 rated for the 2027 draft. So who knows? Just keep stocking up these homegrown picks. Ship off Blake Coleman and someone else to Utah. Get TJ Gimla. Like, there's ways that we can rebuild this squad and make it super Calgary centric. And hey, Cale Makar still hasn't signed an extension in Colorado. Just gather all of the Calgary-born players or Calgary-connected players. Yeah, the other one being who was I talking about? That was the William Nylander jerseys that you see around, because born when his dad was a member of the Calgary Flames. 6'7", I was doing the hand motion that now is associated with that. And John Bean's blackmail is not going to let us draft another defenseman to rail his son all the way to the AHL. Obviously, Jake Bean related to the former president of hockey operations for John Bean. And here's kind of where we'll end with the comment from my housemate, Denim Man. I think the fans of both would be more willing to still go to games if they'd be honest about it being a rebuild. Nothing kills a fan base more than a team being unwilling to be honest. I think that's where a lot of Flames fans were hearing the words that we've heard over the past, let's call it 5 days, about where the front office feels about this rebiggle, I guess is the term that the guys over at Barn Burner used to describe it. Nolan, I'll let you take the first crack at this. Like, do you feel that that's kind of a fair statement?
Yeah, it's tough because obviously, like, there's all sorts of people who would consider themselves fans of the game, and you have people who are really into the hockey of it, and then there's people who are really into the entertainment of it. And I do think that, yeah, you want a team to kind of know what it's about and know kind of who they're, for lack of a better term, serving, right? Mm-hmm. And it's tough when that organization is like, well, we're gonna just keep trying, and it's like, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing however many times or whatever it may be. So
yeah, and the term I'm sick of hearing, or the quote that I'm sick of hearing is, oh, we're still a business. If you were really a business that was focused on making money, you wouldn't be in the sports business. Like, I'll quote Tommy Wheeldon Jr., head coach and general manager of Cavalry. Like, he said, sports, we're still in the business of entertaining. So it's got to be that. But I'll let you continue. No, sorry for talking over you.
No, I think, yeah, that was kind of the only thing that I've been thinking about is, again, like, what's the point of it all, I guess? And really hoping that there's a tension or a a consideration of, you know, beyond just thinking within the league and we want to achieve a certain number of points or make the play or whatever that may be. You got to think about what your, the people who are coming in, and certainly you want to think of the players too. You want players to hopefully be, happy here, but yeah, it's a tough sell for me to just say we're not going to even entertain this idea of a rebuild. But
I also feel it's disingenuous. But I also just saw that the NHL has updated their standings. The Calgary Flames are in 31st place with this win. No longer in the basement. Never mind the fact that Nashville has played 3 less games than us. No longer at the bottom of the pile.
ugh. What a time to be a Flames fan, I'll tell you that.
I think that's as good a point as any. Nolan, just giving you one last chance to shout out. Where can people find yourself? Where can they find the Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association?
Absolutely. So thanks so much for having me and having this conversation and bringing us on. Calgary Inclusive Hockey Association is always, looking for folks to support us, connect with us, play hockey with us, come out to our community skates. Our website, calgaryflare, FLARE.ca, is our website with information on the teams, information on events, information on who we are, and our Instagram is at Calgary Flare as well. So feel free to connect with us, get in touch if you're really interested. Again, reach out to us, the members of the board. We have our email on there. We're always happy to chat more about if you have something you want to do that connects with inclusive hockey and wants to chat with us. Feel free to reach out, and just really appreciative of the time here tonight.
Yeah, and shout out to Alana as well. Got this whole thing, the wheels started rolling on it. I do believe Sarah, another member of the board, is going to come on when that we have some availability. And thank you so much to the Flare for allowing us to build on this whole streaming stuff with Game Over. And also big shout out to your team. You guys went out to a tournament or was it last month or was it longer than that when you guys went out to Montreal for that tournament?
I think that was October, yeah. Around Thanksgiving. So yeah, and we'll have I'll do a subtle plug. We'll have registration for Western Cup, which happens over the Easter weekend here in Calgary, opening up in early January. That's also on our socials. We run the hockey component of Western Cup here in Calgary over Easter weekend. That's a usually draft style tournament, so folks come from all over North America to play in that inclusive hockey tournament here in Calgary.
I think there's some more talks that need to happen to get these games out there. But for myself, thank you so much, Nolan, for joining us. Joy to talk to you, and see, it wasn't that bad, was it?
Not at all.
All right. For myself and all of us here at Game Over, thank you so much for tuning in. Well, actually, I should tell you what games are coming up here, because I always forget myself when the Calgary Flames play next. This darn condensed schedule is driving me nuts. The Flames head down to Florida when they take on both the Lightning and Panthers, Hurricanes, and Predators before they return home. Not sure if me and Anand have that one fully scheduled out yet, so we'll tell you who the hosts are if you follow us over on Blue Sky or on X. We'll be back with your next Calgary Flames home game here on Game Over Calgary. Where's my outro? Oh, I deleted my outro, did I? No, there it is. Now we're going.